It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. We all have things that, we think but we don't say. You know what I mean. The thoughts that you have about your mom or your lover or your child. The thoughts that you have about your friends. The thoughts that you have about life. Those thoughts that, they seem to have a voice and an energy all themselves, but for some reason, there's a lot of fear around speaking those thoughts. There's a lot of fear around truly expressing yourself. Why do we fear speaking our thoughts so much? Are we afraid of how other people will take what we say, or take it the wrong way, or maybe take it the right way? Are we afraid of the consequences that our speech, that speaking our thoughts might bring us to? Are we afraid of how life may change? There is great power in the truth, and there is great, great power in speaking your truth. Today's show is designed for you to walk your talk. And really, if you think about it, how can you walk your talk without speaking your truth? If you are living your life one way, but really having thoughts and feelings that are not in alignment with how you're living your life, then you're not really walking your talk. And the only true and real way, at least one very important way to walk your talk, is to first get in touch with what is true for you, and then have the ability and the willingness to speak your truth to all those involved. In just a moment, I'm going to be bringing on my beautiful friend, Debbie Dallas, and we've done several shows before in the past, amazing shows, and I totally suggest that you go back into the archives and look for all the shows that Debbie has been on. And today we're going to be talking about speaking your truth. We decided that we wanted a little more direction in the conversation today. So just a few minutes ago, we chose a Zen Osho card from the Zen Osho deck. And I'd like to share this card with you. It is the awareness card. And this is what it has to say. Mind can never be intelligent. Only no mind is intelligent. Only no mind is intelligent. Only no mind is original and radical. Only no mind is revolutionary. Revolution in action. The mind gives you a sort of stupor, burdened by the memories of the past, burdened by the projections of the future. You go on living at the minimum. You don't live at the maximum. Your flame remains very, very dim. Once you start dropping thoughts, the dust that you have collected in the past, the flames arise clean, clear, alive, young. Your whole life becomes a flame, and a flame without any smoke. That is what awareness is. This seems to be a very, very interesting and unusual card to combine with the topic of speaking your truth. And it is absolutely fascinating to me to see how this subject, this conversation, is going to unfold today. And so let me tell you a little bit about Debbie Dallas. Debbie Dallas is a master energy therapist, a master rapid eye therapist, a Reiki master and teacher, a personal and business and spiritual coach, an author, speaker, and facilitator. And of course, she is a natural empath and intuitive. When I need some advice, she's the one that I go to. She's a beautiful and amazing person and a very, very, very powerful healer, to say the least. And so, Debbie, thank you so much for having chai with me today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me again.
And I think I should mention we're actually having mint tea and not chai, just so that we're not misleading anyone. So today's show is about speaking our truth and, walking the talk. So, want us to really be in integrity there with the mint instead of the chai. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little late in the afternoon for the chai.
It's a little late for the chai, but the mint definitely suits us well. So I am really fascinated on where we're going to go today with this subject, because when we look at this card, the awareness card, it almost says, just to drop everything.
In a sense, I think that's true.
Yeah.
for me, when I saw the awareness, without reading anything that had been written with it, just the awareness, that's the key. That's the first thing to do, is know what your truth is.
Right.
Number one. And a lot of people will think that they know what their truth is, but it's not their truth. It's what they believe to be a core belief system.
Right.
That, and again, it's what they believe to be a core belief system.
This is tricky.
But
for most
as
people.
as they go deeper, then they wind up finding out that it was actually indoctrination that they've accepted. And it doesn't mean it's part of their soul core belief.
Right.
And myself, it's about internalizing that, finding out what is really true for me, not what's true for what I've been taught,
Right.
but what is true to my soul, and that awareness.
And so when we talk about what's been indoctrinated into us, what we're really talking about is how we've been brought up.
Yeah.
Religion, society, parents,
Schooling, the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, all of that. And it depends upon where you've been brought up, too.
That's a good point.
Because all of that has a factor in people's belief systems and the things that they've normally experienced. I mean, just medical care.
True.
If you've had medical care in the West, and we've lived all over the United States, and believe me, medical care is different all over the United States, just like it is all over the world.
Yes.
You know, so religious views are different all over the U.S., let alone all over the world. Schooling, the roles between males and females, all of that. So there's a lot of things that we're indoctrinated with.
Yes.
And we have to look within inside to find out what of that rings true to our heart and our soul and what doesn't.
Right. And that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
Because most people, because we've been brought up with these beliefs, that they think that it's a part of them. I know that was true for me for many years, that, I thought that what I believed was true, and not just true for me, but what was true. And it takes this, what I would call maybe a separating process to really, filtering process. Yes, thank you, much better word, of really understanding what I've been taught, or what anybody's been taught, versus what's true for that person.
Right. And the thing, it's not about dishonoring anything from your teachings and growing up, or your religion, or anything else. It's about looking at what actually works and fits for you.
Right.
There are so many people out there that are struggling because of their indoctrination as they are growing up, whether it was religious indoctrination, or just parental indoctrination, or what they felt like when they were in school. Right. And those things carry a heavy burden when somebody's trying to meet an expectation, or already believes that they don't have any value in a specific system. And that will affect their day-to-day life, and it's not a truth.
Right.
And those are the first things that need to be made aware to yourself, so that you can release them and heal from them.
A lot of times people become aware that the beliefs that they've been brought up don't work because their life stops working.
Right.
And that could be relationships stop working, or a way that somebody's been living, or, if we look at even a set of religious beliefs, that those religious beliefs no longer support the person for growth in their life, per se.
Exactly. And even somebody that hasn't had any, quote, serious issues as they were moving along in life, I've seen them change directions midstream over things, because they've had their growth spurts and growth periods, and all of a sudden they realize that this just doesn't work for me anymore, and I need to keep going in a different direction.
Right.
Sometimes it's a completely opposite direction from where they had been leading their life. And if that's what nourishes them, what brings love to them and allows them to be the soul that they are, then that's their truth.
Right. Right. And life will tell us. I mean, life will tell us if we're going in the right direction. That's the beauty of it. It's like life is self-correcting, and that if something's working for us, then we will feel it working, and we'll grow, and we'll thrive, and we'll feel creative, and we'll create whatever that looks like for each of us. But when something's not working, it almost feels like we're smothered, or stifled, or limited, or we're just not able to grow, or we may not even be able to have a vision of the future, for that matter.
And not feeling at peace.
Right.
That's, for me, is what it is for me. When I know that I'm not feeling at peace, even among the chaos.
Yes.
That something just is not quite gelled.
Right.
And there's something that's not my truth going on.
Yes.
And so it's for me to take a look at and see where I've stepped out of alignment with what's true to me. Now, the kicker to this is that I learned several years ago that my truth is always changing. It's
Yes.
not a constant.
Yes. And so that's really going to confuse people now because they're,
I know.
I could just hear it now. They're following along. Okay, yes, I get that. Yes, maybe what I've been brought up with is not my truth, and I need to start looking at my truth and maybe look at the areas in my life that aren't working to figure out, if my truth is not in alignment with the truth I've been brought up with. And now what are they saying? Now it changes too? Are you kidding?
Yeah, and that's the key, though. If you're growing and moving,
Yes.
if you have any movement in your life at all,
Yes.
you're going to find that your truth changes
Yes.
and grows as well.
Yes.
A perfect example of that is I grew up with certain religion, and even though not everybody in my family practiced it, I was pretty devoted to it as an adult. And I still have a great love for that religion and all people that are involved in it. The difference for me was when I was seeking more. Yes. I wanted more. I needed to have more answers. Was seeking for more spirituality. And I went about it the ways I'd been taught to seek for it. And as information started to flow to me, there were several times, a prime example is I have a close friend that's in the healing arts as well who wrote a beautiful book. And I was reading her book, and there was one part in it that didn't gel with me that she put in. Everything else I thought, boy, she's got some beautiful truths to really help people here.
Right.
But this one part that didn't gel with me, I kept referring her book to people, and then I'd say, but, if this doesn't work for you, then...
Right.
And I finally realized, you know what? That was taking away the validity that I was giving to what was in the book in the first place. So I went in prayer about it and asked Spirit, why can't I accept this part as well? Why is it so difficult for me? And literally what came to me and was given to me was that, Debbie, her truth does not have to be your truth.
Right.
It is nonetheless her truth. And when I got that, it's like veils were lifted, and I just had the biggest aha, because I realized that is what it is for each one of us. It doesn't have to every aspect of somebody else's thoughts, belief systems, or truth fit in with what we want for ourselves or what is our truth. But it's nonetheless their truth. And so I respect and honor the fact that each person has their own individual truth. And as they progress, their truth is changing just like mine is. It doesn't mean it's changing in the same direction as mine. But that was the key for me, and that's when a world of weight was lifted off my shoulders, because I realized at that point it wasn't about making somebody else wrong in order for me to be right about my truth. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of religions teach. That's what a lot of schools teach. That's what a lot of families teach. And on and on and on. The other things that I've mentioned with medical care and other stuff. It's about this one being correct. This one's right. They have all the truth. So you have to be wrong. And for me, that's not a truth. For me, there's a seed of truth in everything that can lead us to our own personal truth. And my truth doesn't have to be somebody else's truth, so I don't have to make them wrong and try to force my truth on somebody else. I've even had people at times, they ask me about a certain subject or a certain issue, and I'll share with them what I know or what I feel, and then they'll start to argue with me. And usually what I will do is just say, I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm just telling you how I feel about the situation. It's up to you to decide what your truth is.
Well, this brings us right into the core of this conversation, and then speaking our truth, because, it's hard for most people to hear someone else's truth. That when someone expresses their truth and the other person doesn't agree, then that other person might want to make you wrong for not agreeing with them. So this becomes the real challenging piece for people.
I find generally if somebody is in a defensive mode, they're trying to defend their position or trying to force you to accept their position, there's something they're not wanting to look at in themselves.
Yes, which is none of our business. Which is none of our business. Yes.
And there's usually a lot of fear going on. And we all do that. I do it myself. I find that when I'm reactive to somebody, especially a spouse or children, something in that arena, I have to presence myself when I get reactive, because it's like, okay, wait a minute. Why? Because they said it this way or did it that way, is this bothering me? What is it for me to see, or what am I fearing about it? Because anytime we have that kind of a reaction, that's what's going on. There's something within us. And when you can get to that point of being able to calm yourself, sometimes I go, I don't care, I just want to be pissed. And we all have that in us.
And that could be the most spiritual thing to do.
Yeah.
That, when we feel anger, we feel, pissed off or whatever, and we try to hold that back in, what we're doing is a spiritual bypass. And what it looks like is, I'm a spiritual being, and I know that it's wrong to be angry, so I'm going to take the high road. And really, we're disservicing ourselves.
Yes, because no emotion is wrong.
Right, exactly.
That's one of the
we're feeling
keys.
Is the most spiritual thing. Now, what we do with it, there's the choice.
How we act it out, yes.
And this also ties right into speaking our truth, because if we feel anger, or we feel, some kind of anxiety or resentment or anything around or towards someone else, if we hold that in, this is where the disconnection happens. This is where that separation happens. And when we, have the courage, because it really does require courage.
Oh, definitely.
And speak our truth and say, well, this is really how I'm feeling. And we might sound, not as spiritual, but what we're really doing is really moving towards the divine rather away from it. That concealing our truth and hiding our feelings would be moving away from the divine. We're disconnecting. As in sharing our feelings, sharing our thoughts, even if it seems less spiritual, is really moving towards the divine, because it's moving in a direction of connection, even if it doesn't seem that way at first.
Yes. Well, and it can feel like a disconnect at first.
Yes.
I just picked up on a thought wave out there of somebody that thinking about the fact that, well, does that mean that every thought that comes into your mind that you express it? The visual that I got.
Had that thought wave is probably like, oh my God, how did she know that's what I was thinking?
It just comes. The visual I got is somebody standing in a grocery line and either having an issue with somebody in the line with them or the cashier that's taking care of them. Excuse me. And if they have an issue with it or can see something that they deem to be wrong, should you express that? Well, it depends.
Yeah.
There are ways of speaking things in a way that would not be taken offense. If you can actually see something, and I've been a cashier in a grocery store, if you can actually see something that the cashier could do different that would be more beneficial to her and to the customers, and you express it in a very positive way, it would probably be well accepted. If, on the other hand, you're just wanting to lash out at somebody because you've had a bad day.
Right, to make yourself feel better temporarily.
Then exactly, that's all you're trying to do. Or to make yourself feel more important than that cashier.
That you're getting a benefit out of it.
Exactly.
So,
for me, if it's just lashing out at somebody to lash out, it's not appropriate, and that has nothing to do with the truth.
Right. It's funny you should say that. Last Christmas, I was waiting in line to get some wine at the liquor store. It was Christmas Eve, long line going out the door. And, it was cold, and people are, they talk and they bond. Well, this one man decided to tell this joke. And it was a very, very offensive joke. I can't remember what it is now because I've completely blocked it out of my mind. But it was quite offensive, and I stood there for a moment, which seemed like more than a moment, debating should I say something or not. And I decided to say something because it was the joke was so out of integrity with what I believe and what I believe about humanity and what I personally support, life to be, that I had to say something. And so, and I thought, chose my words carefully because I didn't want to make him wrong. It wasn't about making him wrong. It was really about changing this energy that was created through him and around all of us. And so I said, I know that you did not mean to offend anybody, and I apologize for, saying this like I am. If I say it wrong, please, I hope I say it right. And that is, but this is why this I find this very offensive. And hopefully at the time I said a little more smooth than I'm saying it right now. But the gist was, I was really respectful to him, and yet I let him know that what he just shared was very disrespectful. And after I said it, there was dead silence in the crowd. Like, no one said a word. I'm like, now this is uncomfortable. But then finally, that that energy was broken, and you can tell that something shifted. Now, I could have just as easily not said anything, but it would have been out of integrity with me. In fact, it was the harder thing to say something.
Yeah, a lot of times it is.
Yes.
A lot of times it is.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of people have issues with somebody saying something in swearing.
Yes.
I don't have an issue with anybody swearing. They can get as foul as they want to around me if we're with adults, depending upon the situation, obviously. But if there are children around, or I know that there's a family-oriented area, and I hear somebody start flying the words, I hear it immediately, and it just perks me up. Not because I'm looking for a reason to get upset, but as an empath, I sense everybody else's feelings that's going on and that's hearing it. I hear the little kids hear it, and I will usually very politely say, excuse me, this is a family place, or excuse me, there's a lot of children that can hear you. And most times when that has happened, I have rarely had that happen that somebody was angry at me for saying something. Most of the time it was just unconsciousness on their part. And so I think that's appropriate to do something like that. So there's a fine line. Even with your family, you need to go into your heart to know if what you're saying is to be hurtful, to lord over somebody, to lash back, or if it's really going to be beneficial and that it really is speaking your truth.
So when it comes to family, because this is really where it hits home. Families, whether that's, your spouse or a lover even, your children, your parents, these are very, very important relationships. And these are the hardest relationships to speak our truth in. I think most people will agree.
I think so.
And so a good question would be, do I want to share my truth because I want to connect at a deeper level with this person, or because I need to really set some boundaries so that I feel, safer in this relationship? Or am I just wanting to, get some power back and hurt this person? And this is really a good key question. Why is it that I want to share my truth? Is it that I'm looking to get something out of this and hurt that person? Or am I looking to really, create a win-win, whatever that looks like? And sometimes it means that the relationship doesn't continue, but that's still a win-win if you are doing what is in your best regard.
Exactly. Now, what just came up for me, the visual I just got, was at times, especially with our family and our companions, we tend to draw a line and claim that this is our truth, so you have to respect, honor, and blah, 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 because this is my truth. Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it your truth, or is it just a stand that you're going to take? Are you willing, just because you have a belief system in something, are you still willing to sit down calmly and listen to somebody else's perspective or their belief system, even if it goes directly against what you believe is your truth?
That's a really good point.
Okay, so that's one of the ways, the awareness.
Yes.
The awareness is number one. Be aware of what your truth really is.
Most people don't know what their truth really
Exactly.
is. And I think that this is where the conversation comes into play, that sometimes only in conversation can we determine what our truth is. And it requires that both people come open-hearted with this intention of connection rather than separation. And that if I have one truth and you have one truth and we sit down and we can hear each other, then my truth might change, or your truth might change, or we might have a greater version of the truth.
Exactly.
Whatever that might be.
And that's the thing. We can be a gift to each other at all times.
Yes.
When we're willing to, number one, share what our truth is, to walk our talk, basically, is what it is. It's not about getting out there and proselyting to somebody else that's the I'm better than you are type thing, or mine's right, yours wrong. So it's not about that. It's about living what you believe in your heart.
Yes.
And for me, has my life changed because my truth has changed? Yeah.
Yes. It has to. Yeah, that's the walking your talk piece, as we were saying. Yes, of course.
It's in some ways changed drastically. In other ways, it's who I've always been.
Right.
We just, my class in California just had their 40th, I shouldn't say that, oh God. Talk about a truth. Our 40th reunion this last weekend.
You said fourth, right?
40, yeah. Fourth, yes. Now, if they'd believe that, picture. But in that, there's a lot of people I connect with.
Yes.
I didn't get to go. I didn't get to go back to the reunion. Couldn't at this time. But I still have been in connection with a lot of my high school classmates. And being out of high school for 4 years is a long time.
Yes.
For 4 decades.
Yes.
And you become different people.
Yes.
Yet the core of who I was even then is showing through to them. And there's a lot of them that have commented about what they can see who I am now and how they saw that in me before.
Wow.
So in that, I feel really blessed.
Yes.
That part of me has continued. I also feel very blessed that I'm not the same person exactly that I was in high school.
Exactly.
But it has led me on to be who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I resonate with that very much so. Yes. And it's almost like if we keep hiding our truths from ourselves and from other people that we can't grow, that they're the evolution of who we are.
Yes.
And I say evolution, but it's also in the revolution, as in the revealing of who we are.
Yes, exactly.
Comes through really becoming aware of our truth and speaking our truth. And do you know my story of the plaid polyester leisure suit?
Oh yes, you did share that with me one time.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
share it with them. Yes, that's perfect.
So when I was a kid, when I was in junior high, middle school, my mom had certain ideas of how I should dress. And the way that she thought I should dress was in plaid polyester leisure suits. So she'd buy me these plaid polyester leisure suits and send me to school in plaid polyester leisure suits, if you can imagine. And I should also mention that they did not make them in children's sizes, so she would tailor them. But even after her tailoring, the crotch still hung about a foot too long, and she hung them too short, and and the jackets were just huge on me, and she thought it looked really good, and of course I didn't think it looked so
you were
good.
Horrified.
I was horrified, and all the kids would tease me every day. And you would think that the teasing on a daily basis would make me want to, say my truth to my mom.
Yes.
And no, it didn't, because my mom's approval meant more to me than kids at school. So this went on for a very, very, very long time. And we'd go to store shopping, and I would, be eyeing the jeans, that all the kids would have. But I would be afraid to even tell my mom that I wanted a pair of jeans, because she would always make comments like, "I'm so glad you don't wear those ugly jeans like all the other kids." So it was kind of nailing it in. Reinforcing it. And finally one day we were in a store, and I saw these beautiful jeans, and they had this rainbow that went down one leg, like all the way across the waist and down one leg, and I fell in love with those jeans, and they were calling to me. They were calling my name. And so finally, I got up enough courage to tell my mom that I really wanted a pair of jeans. And at first she said, "You want those ugly jeans? You want to wear ugly jeans like the other kids?" And then she bought them for me.
Oh, how neat.
Yes.
See?
And my whole paradigm was completely shifted in that moment, because even though, she had a belief about them and she didn't like them, she dropped her belief. She dropped her truth, and she heard me.
She was willing to look at what you desired and what you were saying.
And so she buys me these beautiful, beautiful jeans, and that rainbow truly was a rainbow to freedom for me.
Beautiful.
And it changed everything for me from that moment on. And it was the first time that I learned to speak my truth, and I had such a positive outcome. And I do believe that the positive outcome is available almost off the bat to most people when they speak their truth. And of course, we'll talk about in a few minutes when it doesn't happen that way. But this story is an encouragement to people. This story encourages, those listening to speak their truth and to really find their own rainbow to freedom.
Well, yeah, because in a situation like that, if you're really that uncomfortable, and there's a lot of kids and teenagers that this happens to, because they don't want to displease their parents, or they don't want to cause some kind of disruption or argument. And if they fear that that's what's going to happen, even if they have no basis for the fear.
Yes.
If that's within them, then they'll sidestep it and tiptoe it.
And this is a beautiful little side conversation here, because this is why children, teenagers particularly, lie to their parents.
Exactly.
Yeah, I ended up, despite the whole rainbow jean story, I ended up running away when I was 16, and whole other story for another show. But it was because that I could not communicate with my parents, with my mom particularly, and so it's like if we create these environments where, as parents or as caretakers or whatever the situation might be, whether we're teachers, whatever, and we make children wrong, however old those children are, then those children are forced to lie. Those children will not adopt our truth. Those children will lie and separate us, and this is why we see so many challenges.
Yes. Understand, though, that the reason most children lie is so that they will not displease.
Right. Or be punished or have to deal with the consequences.
Punishment's a big one, too.
Yes, and that punishment could just be that they no longer have their parents' approval.
Exactly.
My one of my sons, my older son, and you know this, and he will hate me saying this, but he probably won't be listening right now anyway.
So we'll get away with it.
Yeah, maybe. And he really has had his whole life, like, the truth has been really, really important to him. Like, that has been really, really important, that people tell him the truth. And, a few years ago, something happened where, we didn't tell him the truth about something. And I actually went to him and I said, sometimes people don't tell the truth because of the judgment that they are afraid that they're going to get. And we looked at that, and he really got to see that, that he has these judgments. And so I ended up telling him that if someone doesn't tell you the truth, it's your fault.
It can be. It can be.
And there's truth in that.
There is.
There is truth in that. And so if there's somebody in your life not telling you the truth, this might be the invitation for you to step back and look at your own response.
Exactly.
To somebody telling you the truth.
When you do receive the truth.
When you do receive the truth, are you judgmental? Do you, close down? Do you separate? How do you respond?
Do you make them wrong?
Do you make them wrong? How do you respond when you hear the truth? And if you do any of those things, or a variation thereof, then guess what? People are not going to want to tell you the truth. And that could be your spouse, your parents, your children, your friends. People will not want to tell you the truth if you shut them down, if you judge them, if you make them wrong.
Oh, exactly.
Yes. And on the other side of that is that when you love them regardless, when you can hear their side, where you can drop your own beliefs and drop your truth, at least in that moment, for really, really hearing what someone else has to say, then you invite the truth in.
Exactly. And sometimes it's a balance of finding the truth together in a certain situation. So, not all truths are spiritual life or death.
Yes.
It's about living in common thread and within society.
Yes.
So look at that also.
Yes.
Another part of that just came up for me is in walking your talk and speaking your truth is do it in your community and do it on a political basis. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that are happening worldwide because for a while everybody shut down and just swallowed their truth. And things have gotten out of hand now because of it. So in that respect, and don't misunderstand, I am not a headstrong activist. There's certain things that I do get really involved in and become an activist for, but very few and far between. But I do believe in speaking up, not doing things just the same old way just because that's always the way they've been done. Right. That is perpetuating the problem versus seeking out for other answers. And that means being open to hearing somebody else's ideas, somebody else's truth, and taking a really good look at it to see where that fits with you.
Right.
So in awareness, be aware of the different areas and the different meanings of truth, the different ways that your truth affects you and affects others. Right. And don't make, it's like I said in the beginning, my truth does not have to be somebody else's truth, nor does their truth have to be my truth.
Right.
And in allowing that and respecting it, not being disrespectful or trying to force anything on anybody else, it's allowed me to continue to grow, to thrive, to love in a way that I've always desired to love, and to see other aspects that have actually affected my truth growing in other ways. So be willing to do that. Have the courage to just possibly know that your truth has nothing to do with what you've been taught.
Yes.
And that really is a difficult one.
That is a difficult one. Yes. And that your truth changes.
Yeah.
Yes.
My truth is in perpetual motion.
Yes. Yes. And so when we look at that, I would imagine that would make a lot of people feel very insecure.
It
Because
could.
people think, okay, well,
If
at
they
least I know the
misunderstand
truth.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
they misunderstand it. But the truth, and when we talk about truth in this context, what we're really talking about is the truth in relation to what we consider reality.
Yes.
There are universal truths
Yes.
that are just that, they're universal, and they don't change.
That's
And
right. they're
so,
constant.
like for me, like a universal truth that will never change is that love is really all there is, and only love is real, and that's not going to change.
That's not going to change
That's
for
not
me
going to
either.
change. But there are other things about the way that we live life and relationships, and even our economic systems and our political systems and spiritual religious systems, and it goes on and on. Anything that is it can be fit into a system or a mold or anything like that. It's going to change,
Of course.
and it
yes.
has to change.
It has to change.
It's interesting because I was never a great history person, but I've been thinking a lot about the history that I learned in school, and I remember thinking at the time, why am I learning this? What good is this? And all these years I'm thinking of it again, and the place that I've come to is that it was really important to learn about world history and the history in the United States, and all these different variations of history, because they help us to see that there are many views. There are many ways to live life. And very often certain ways don't work, so that we can find new ways.
Yeah, well, and I'm not sure who quoted it, but there's a saying that goes around that if you don't learn from your history, then
Yes,
you're doomed to repeat it.
And very often we don't even realize how we're repeating the history
Exactly.
because it's insidious. And, right now, it's one of those times. Right now, if we really look closely at what's going on,
there's a lot of changing and shifting going on right now. A lot of people,
a
lot of awareness.
A lot of awareness. Back to the
Yes.
whole awareness. And so this is a time to really start looking at our truths and our truths individually and collectively and worldly, because I'm fairly certain that in 10, 20, 30 years we're going to have a whole new set of truths to really base our world on, and it's going to be very, very different than it is now.
I believe so too. Now, in that, you've got another hodgepodge, because different people, and I talk to so many people on a daily basis, that different people have different views
Yes.
of how this is going to transpire
Yes.
and what it's going to look like on the other end. And again, that's beautiful that there are those different views, but
Right.
don't try to force somebody else to believe it the way that you believe it just because you think that that's the way it's going to be.
Right.
Look at what is structuring that belief system. What is behind why you believe it to work its way out and to flow the way that you believe it's going to flow? And listen to somebody else and what they're saying, and take a look at what might fit with that as well. What are the common threads? That's when I've done studying of theology and religion and history, different things, I've always looked for the common thread. There are common threads
Yes.
in everything that you can find, in every religion. And a lot of people would debate that and go right ahead. But there are common threads in every religion.
Yes, absolutely.
Each religion is connected to another by a common thread.
Absolutely.
More than one, actually.
That's true. Now we have to weave our little web here, because when we pull this Osho card, this awareness card, Osho's talking about dropping the mind, and we've been talking a lot about truth as it comes to the mind. So
Right?
So let's just look at this again, see how we can weave our little web here and bring it all together in the last few minutes of the show. So Osho says, mind can never be intelligent. Only no mind is intelligent. Only no mind is original and radical. Only no mind is revolutionary. Revolution in action. And so he appears to be saying that in order to know the truth, that the mind has to be dropped, that we really can't know the truth, the universal, the truth of all, the truth, the absolute truth with the mind.
I believe that's probably true, because I believe, number one, that universal truth is so simplistic that it'll blow us away, and yet there is so much to know about it
Yes.
that it would overwhelm the mind. When we're in left brain and we're trying to fragment things out and put it into certain layers and explain it, some things at this point are unexplainable because of the vibration we're in, and some of the things that we are limited
Right.
in understanding. That doesn't mean don't continue to seek for further understanding. That's what I do on a continuous basis. If there is a question in your mind, a thought in your mind, there's an answer there somewhere.
Absolutely.
So continue to pursue it, but don't let yourself get in your own way.
That's a hard one.
That's where the mind, it's what I call monkey mind.
Yes.
And that's because of the indoctrinations, everything we've learned, our experiences. We build up this ball of energy that says that it has to look a certain way and can only be a certain way, and there can't be any other explanation. Yes. And it's all based on our personal experience versus letting go of the monkey mind and allowing ourselves to actually experience something maybe through feeling it versus thinking it.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And it's a whole different experience to feel something versus to think about it and try to create it or experience it with our monkey mind.
Well, we have been taught that our mind is the vehicle for knowing the truth, when really our minds really keep us from the truth, because our minds have to figure things out in a logical sequence, and our minds do not even have the slightest capacity to understand the truth of all the absolute truth. And that, you're right, only through experience, through feeling, through the heart, can you really experience the truth. And so it's like the mind needs to be dropped.
There's so many things that, and you and I both had experiences in this realm, that you can experience something that after the experience, if you try to put words to it, if you try to go step by step, now how could this have happened? There's no explanation for it. And you fragment it apart. Yet you cannot disown that you had that experience.
Right.
So that's where, don't let the mind get in your way. That's getting out of your own way.
Right.
To allow yourself to experience and to know.
Yes. The mind was meant to be really the servant, not the master.
Exactly.
And for so many of us, it becomes the master. And so really to know truth at a deep, deep level, beyond just, what appears to be the truth of reality and the truth of, life, one needs to drop the mind. One needs to drop into the heart. And, a great little exercise, I don't know if I've ever spoke about this, but this was shown to me about a year or so ago. And that is that the thoughts that we have in our minds, you take the thought and you just drop it down into your heart.
Yes.
And then you just see what happens with it. And that could be, I love doing it with things like, I am love. You take the thought, I am love. Well, that doesn't do much for the mind. I am love. And the mind starts to think about it. Well, is that true or is that not true? But then you take that thought, I am love, and you just let it drop down into the heart
chakra. Yeah.
And I invite everybody who's listening to do this now. Just let it drop down into the heart. And take a deep breath. I am love. And let your heart speak those words and vibrate out to your body and see what happens. And that should feel very different. That should be a very, very different experience. And you can do that with anything and everything.
Yes, you can.
And that would be experiencing life through the heart. So, instead of leaving it in the mind, leaving it in the head, and it can be, whatever thought you're having in that particular moment on that particular day, instead of leaving it in the mind, you allow it to drop down into your heart, and then it changes everything. It changes you. At a cellular level, even, it changes you.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yes.
And by experiencing it through the heart, it eliminates you wanting to go into defense or into judgment. There is nothing to defend when you're in the energy of the heart.
There is nothing.
There is no judgment, and there is no fear.
Yeah.
When you're truly, now I hear people saying, oh, I fear being in love, and this, that's not being, truly, it's not being in the full energy of the heart.
Right. Because when you drop into the heart and you're in the full energy of the heart, it's like it's the one heart.
Soul level.
Yeah, it's the soul level. It's the one heart. It's like this is all. This is where you connect to all. And so to make someone else wrong, you're making yourself wrong too. And you can feel it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, the way that I see things, and you've already spoken about this, it's like I see that we're either moving towards God or we're moving away from God. We're either moving towards connection or we're
love.
or separation. We're moving towards love or away from love, and that's in everything we do.
Yes.
And every thought we think, even it doesn't even have to go beyond thought, and every word that we say. And so this is probably a perfect way to end the show, and that is that when you're thinking about your truth and you're thinking about sharing your truth, how might you share your truth so that you're moving towards love?
Are you asking me that? Or are you asking the audience that? Because I think that's something for everybody to take a look at.
Yes.
And then don't wrap your mind around it. Mm-hmm. Allow your heart to give you the answer.
Exactly. Okay. Because to wrap your mind around it, you're moving away.
Exactly.
That's your little hint for the test. If your mind is figuring it out, you're moving away from love, and so you put that out there. How might I approach this person or the situation with what I believe to be is my truth, and move towards love,
and allow yourself to experience it,
Yes, and what might that be like? And I'm sure that virtually everybody that's listening right now has at least one situation in their life where they're maybe holding back a truth or something that they really need or want to say to someone. And so the answer comes when you drop down into your heart. What is it that you really? And another thing, another way to think about this is, how would you like the situation to end up? What do you want to get out of it? Do you want to end up in an argument or a fight? Do you want to end up separated, or do you want to end up with a greater connection to this person? Do you and it's like whatever it is that you want, it's important that you give. So it's
right.
Like if
best case scenario.
If you're wanting I want my husband, my wife, or my child to understand me more, so right off the bat, you know that you need to give them understanding. If you want them to hear you, then right off the bat, you know that you first need to hear them. If you want love, which of course everything ends in love, then you've got to give love.
Be willing to give love.
You want appreciation, give appreciation. So whatever it is that you want in expressing your truth, you must give in that expression as well. And that will likely lead you in the direction that you want and lead you to love.
Yeah, to the outcome that you desire.
To the outcome.
Yes.
Because the purpose of everything, the divine purpose, and I would say that this is a universal truth, that what we all really want is love. To not just to be loved, but to feel love. To experience love.
At the highest level.
At the highest level.
The highest vibration of it.
Yes. It's beautiful.
Yes.
It's really beautiful. Oh, wow. Wow. So, Debbie, how can everybody get in touch with you?
Well, they can check my website, even though it's a little bit defunct right now in the sense it works, but we're doing some work on it. We're getting ready to revamp it. My gal's been really busy and hasn't been able to do it recently, so look for some changes on it. But it's www.dallashealing.com, Dallas being my last name. And they can also get a hold of me through Facebook. If you want to key in Debbie Dallas and in Sandy, Utah, I'll come up and friend me, and if we aren't already friends.
Mm-hmm. And Debbie's Debbie.
Yes.
Dallas. Awesome. Great. Wow. Debbie, thank you so much. I always love to share this time with you. You and I have these amazing conversations often.
Yes.
Yes.
They go even further than this, so
yes.
You have no idea.
Yes. and it just pleases me so much to be able to share them with the audience.
It. Yeah. Thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. And it occurs to me now that Debbie has given her Facebook information that of all the shows that I've done, yes, I would love for you to connect with me on Facebook. So, see, that's great.
Yeah, see, I send her information out on Facebook because I don't see her doing it.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Definitely connect with me on Facebook, and it's my name, Nanice Ellis. And that's at NANICEELLIS. And definitely visit me on my website at nanice.com, NANICE.com for free articles, show downloads, or free book download songs, and so much more. And the thought that I would like to leave you with today is that no matter what, your truth is inside of you and seeks expression. And even if your truth is not the absolute truth right now, whatever is true for you right now, the expression of it will lead you to a greater truth of who you are, a greater truth of your life. And sometimes when we speak our truth, it doesn't turn out right away. But in the end, it always does. That in the end, that speaking our truth really does guide us through to a higher understanding of ourselves and a higher connection with the divine. You can only begin where you are, You can only love yourself right now, and not after, life changes, or, your partner changes, or you change. Now is the time. Now is the time to open up, to feel yourself, to allow yourself to feel love and to be that love, because that truly is the greatest truth, that you are love. You are loved. And there's nothing that you can do to change that fact, not now, not ever, and that every moment of your life, through all of existence, you have been this love, and you always, always will be. And know that I love you, and that you have a very special place in my heart. And please let me know who you are, what you want to see on the show. Text me, Facebook me, and while you're on my website, don't forget to take the pledge. It will change your life and help you change the world. Till next time, you've been listening to Chai with Nanice. Have a great week. Bye for now.
Thank you for having Chai with Nanice. Please go to www.nanice.com for great free stuff that will empower you to live your best possible life. Free books, articles, shows, meditation audios, and so much more at Nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Nanice's books are also available in all major bookstores and Amazon. Check out The Infinite Power of You, Even Gandhi Got Hungry and Buddha Got Mad, Zest Point, Lip Prints, and many others by Nanice Ellis. To find out about one-on-one coaching and how Nanice can personally coach you to experience your best life possible, please email mybestlife@nanice.com.